Today we're talking about the Clubbell swipe. Like my previous So You Think You Can video where I discussed the mill, the Clubbell swipe is an advanced exercise that you really shouldn't worry about training until you've gone through all the building blocks or the component movements that you string together to create a swipe. I'll get into what that means further in this video, but first of all I want to say that if you haven't seen that first So You Think You Can video, go back and check that out, because a lot of the things I talk about in that video, although I'm talking about the mill, will apply to the swipe. There's things on intelligent gripping that you can apply to the swipe. There's things about soft tissue release that you can apply to the swipe. Arm lock when you're casting out that you can apply to the swipe. So go back and check out the mill video, and then we'll get started. What do I mean when I say building blocks or motor components of an exercise? Essentially, I'm talking about basic exercises that once mastered, or at least gotten a good hold of, you can string together in sequence to create a more complex exercise. And that's really what the swipe is. It's a complex exercise made up of smaller parts. Here's what it looks like. With one Clubbell, here, that's a swipe. But what's really going on? Is it one movement or is it several movements strung together? It's actually both. The first exercise I want to cover is the rocket drill. It's a really basic yet absolutely essential drill that you need to have mastered before you move on. I've seen lots of people start with Clubbell training, and the rocket itself can provide a pretty tough challenge for them. So if your rocket form looks weird, go no further. Work on this before moving on. Make sure this looks solid, because if this doesn't look good, you're going to have problems in every other movement you do. The rocket is essentially a series of partial squats while the Clubbell travels forward and back. Notice the Clubbell's not dragging along the floor or hitting, it's staying just above the ground. Although my arms are staying locked, I'm maintaining good spinal alignment throughout until I reach the end of my set. Once you've got the rocket, it's time to move on to the swing. The swing gives us a good foundation for sending the Clubbell off into space, or actually swinging the Clubbell with our lower body as opposed to our upper body. When people haven't done this enough, they might have a tendency to do their swipes or even their swings with their arms. It's not an arm movement. Your arm simply guides the Clubbell up. Like Newton balls, where force is transferred from one object to the next to send it off. That's essentially what you're doing here. The Clubbell is going to be down. Your hip explodes forward, sending force in this direction to send the Clubbell upward. If you're not getting enough extension in your hips, which is very common, people will have a tendency to extend partially or almost all the way and get the last few degrees of extension from their lower back. That's not what we're looking for. We want a powerful hip snap and drive, really lock these hips down and keep this tight. So when we send this off, I'm going to do it with just one Clubbell here. Boom, back. I'm not lifting the club with my arm. That's much harder, yet still doable. And the fact that it's doable means that you have to keep an eye on it. It's harder, and what I want is for it to seem pretty easy. So I'm sending the club up with my hips. So you've got the rocket, you've got the swing. Now it's time to move on to your front pendulum. Here. What's important here? You're still getting the same snap that we talked about. It's important to control the Clubbell here. Once you lock it down tight when you're first getting used to this. When you're bringing the Clubbell down, it's like I talked about in that mill video. I'm not just letting the club come down for another rep. I'm casting the Clubbell out so that my arm is long and I'm getting beneficial stress pulling through my arm, getting good healthy traction here, as opposed to this bouncing, jerking, loading on the way down. Send it out long, get the benefits of the Clubbell. But when you send it out long, don't let your shoulder slide out, keep it back. So we're here, boom, down, up, then pivot, push your hand underneath as the Clubbell swings up to lock in and catch your pendulum. Another thing that I find interesting is the way that people's casting movement changes from the front when they switch from doing just your regular cast to integrating that cast into the swipe. Because once it gets to the swipe, and especially when people get tired or they're using very heavy Clubbells, suddenly it becomes an entirely different beast. What I mean is, what was once this very nice straight back line here where my hand is almost hidden behind my bicep turns into something more like this, right? Where now all of a sudden I can see my hand between my ear and my elbow. And I get it. You know what I mean? It looks very beastly to handle two heavy Clubbells, boom, throw them up, here, and rip them back forward. You know, and if you want to do that, that's fine, I guess. But it's something that I personally generally try to avoid in my training. To me, I view that as a little bit more of a symptom of something that I might want to work on so that I can get either myself or my clients to a better overhead position here and back. Because this is a structurally weaker position than this. And I'll show you why. As a martial artist, when I see this position here, it's instantly recognizable as something that is weaker than here. Typically, this is where I would rather someone be as opposed to here. Because if they're here, I want them here. Why? Because this is a weaker position for the shoulder. Here. That's problematic. I don't want to strain the shoulder this way because my body doesn't want to go this way. So why would I do that 100 or more times under load? So if you can, you might want to try avoiding being this beastly guy here and work on getting to this deep position here. This might bring with it all sorts of problems and compensations, but that's fine because it gives us something to work on to make us better. So how do I know if I'm ready? Well, if you can't tell by your ability or inability to extend your your arm overhead while keeping your arm externally rotated with the Clubbell, I'll offer you this simple drill. Get a stick, PVC pipe, broomstick. It really doesn't matter what it is. You just need to make sure that it's light. You don't want to load this with a barbell because it's just a drill. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hands, move them to where they're right about in front of my shoulders, and I want to press this thing up while keeping my elbows as far in as I can the whole time. Now, some of you might get to here before it starts feeling really weird and you really want to start turning out. Pinch them in. Keep pinching, and see where you can get. And if this is as far as you get, that's fine. Go ahead and unpack your shoulders, bring them up high to the sky, pull your elbows in again. Shrug your shoulders down, and then pull the bar down slowly. Do it over and over again. And over time, you'll likely see that your ability to keep your elbows in as they move up will improve. And that will have benefits for not just your Clubbell swipe, but some of your barbell movements as well. In my other So You Think You Can video, I talk a little bit about soft tissue release. There's other things you can find on YouTube and the rest of the internet for opening up your shoulders and all the other parts of your body. But I do want to share with you one thing I came up with just because I haven't seen anyone else do this. I'm going to take the knob of the Clubbell and use it to break open the tissues here in my lats and trying to get in underneath my scapula. It's an area that we really don't often work on or even get worked on when we get massages. I do. And if you don't, you should probably start asking for it from your massage therapist. But barring that, if you don't have access to it, use your Clubbell, take the knob, put a towel over it or something soft if this is too hard for you, flare your lat so that you can grab here, take your thumb, dig in, try to get that space in between the lats, trying to get in closer to underneath that shoulder blade on this side, okay? So we're here, I'm flaring out, boom. You gotta be careful because there's lots of nerves in and around your armpit. We want to be below that into the lats and subscapularis like I was talking about before. You'll know you found it when it sucks to put your weight on the clubbell. Hang out in that area for several seconds, or if you want, you can grab the handle of the clubbell and use that to move around underneath those tissues to help break up those restrictions. Okay, because we know this subscapularis helps internally rotate that arm. So if I've got trouble going the other way, it may be helpful to start breaking this tension up and release that so I can get into a better position. So we've built up our swipe. We've gone through the rocket. We've gone through the swing. We've gotten the pendulum down and the hang of casting over the shoulder. Then you put them together into the swipe. What are the common form problems that you're going to see? Well, they're going to be manifestations of not enough time spent doing the other things right. Like I said before, if I'm not extending my hips enough, I'm going to start extending my lower back. If I can't start extending my shoulders enough, or my thoracic spine isn't mobile enough to help my shoulders get up overhead, then I'm going to start extending my lower back. This can be very problematic because, as I sort of hinted at before, when people do swipes, they tend to do them with high repetitions. Over and over and over again with a weight moving very quickly into this back position, almost banging your spine back over and over again. Keep this locked down. Extend from the hips. Open up the shoulders so they can deal with that force and manage the clubbell effectively so that your lower back doesn't have to pick up the slack. That is the biggest form problem I see all over the place next to this thing. But some people don't have a problem with this thing. Maybe that's just me. That's all I've got this time. Hopefully those tips are helpful for you. As always, let me know if you've got any questions. I want to say thank you to our friends at Valley CrossFit in Los Angeles, California for asking that this video be made in the first place. We'll be releasing more videos in the future to help you get more out of these tools. Until then, we'll see you later.